He had been keeping an eye both on his targets and on the jeep trailing the train, which was visible from time to time through the trees that lined the track. He stepped into the carriage and took out his gun. The boy was right there, 20 feet away. Right there, a sitting duck. This would be a piece of cake. He raised the weapon and it did not shake. His finger squeezed the trigger, gently, as he had practiced it, and he felt the soft kick in his hand. But, inexplicably, the boy had moved his head. He leaned forward, saying something to his mother. The back of the seat disintegrated, just completely blew apart, its stuffing flying through the air. The pistol was virtually silent. The only noise had come from the impact of the bullet. The boy's mother was on her feet screaming "Look out!" Instinctively the other passengers in the carriage ducked, although they had no real idea what was going on. All except the boy. He got to his feet and turned. Cameron felt the next cartridge click into place as he walked forward. A snarl of fury contorted his face. Then he was grabbed from behind and a strong grip forced his arm upwards. The bullet shot through the roof, leaving a gaping hole through which he saw sky. The boy and his mother were out of their seats now, running down the aisle, running away. It was a policeman who had Cameron's arm and would not let go. But the confined space was awkward and Cameron stamped down hard on the policeman's foot. He pushed the man back and a hand came free. He managed to strike the policeman's nose, then head-butted him. Now the gun hand was free. Hardly thinking at all, he fired a bullet into the man's chest and saw a lot of blood come out from behind before the man collapsed against the luggage storage compartment. Cameron turned in pursuit of the boy and his mother, oblivious to the screams of the others. Asterisk 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 asterisk. The external carriage doors were locked and could not be opened from the inside without a special key. Mark stepped up and placed a hand over the open, lock control panel. He imagined the layout of the controls. With a swift rush of air from outside the door slid open. "We have to jump," said Mark. "I can jump from a moving train, it's that or be shot," Jeanette swore and peered out of the opening at the track ahead. "There's some kind of bridge coming up. Before the bridge, then. We don't want to go plunging over bridges. On 3. They both heard the internal sliding door hiss open behind them, and knew it was the killer. Both felt a jolt of fear that made them damn the consequences. 3. Jeanette shouted and pushed Mark out of the train, flinging herself out immediately afterwards. There was a sickening flight through the air, a terrifying glimpse of a wire fence coming up to meet her, then she had cleared it and with a bone-jarring thump smacked hard into the grassy slope of Ben Durain. The train rolled on towards the bridge. She swore again. A face appeared at the open doorway. Then she saw the gun. But by now a considerable distance had opened up between them. Nevertheless she screamed and shielded her head as bullets whacked into the ground to her right and ricocheted off the boulder she rolled behind for cover. There followed a calm of a few seconds. Mark managed to get up and approach Jeanette. He was not hurt, but the jolt of hitting the ground seemed to have shaken up his internal organs. He felt very ill, and wanted nothing more than to lie still for a while. Jeanette hugged him. The train rolled on, rhythmically clanking over the spaces between the rails. Then the sound changed as it moved onto the bridge. At that moment, a figure came through the open door. It was the killer. But his judgment had mistimed. Cameron had delayed those precious seconds in order to tell Logan what had happened. Those few seconds were important. His carriage was now on the bridge. He had to try to jump just right so that he landed on this side of the fence, otherwise he would go flying over the side of the bridge. And now it was a long way down. Gun in hand he flung himself out of the door. But he was moving too fast and his angle was wrong. If only he could have practiced this, he thought, as saw himself fall towards the metal fence. If only he had not been so damned tired from his uncomfortable night's sleep, he would not have misjudged. But it was too late now, it was all too late, now. He hit it at 30 miles an hour and it knocked the wind right out of him, breaking his ribs. His body kept on going. He was going over the edge. Frantically he scrabbled to grab a hold of the top rail, but his pain, and the confusion swirling in his reeling mind, and the clumsy gun in his hand made a good grip impossible. He cartwheeled over the rail and fell 20 meters to the valley slope. Mark saw it happen. Jeanette too. He vomited his breakfast on the ground. The train curved away from them now, but wild, curious faces were appearing at the windows. Finally someone had the presence of mind to pull the emergency cord, but it would be a minute at least before it could come to a halt. Trees had obscured Logan's view, and the train's open door through which they had jumped had been on the side he could not see anyway. But Cameron's last call had alarmed Logan. When he finally found a space to park and to use his binoculars, the train was stopping at the far end of the horseshoe curve. Tracing the line of the track back, however, he could make out two figures trying to descend into the valley. So they had jumped from the train and were on the run. Well, they would not escape. He picked up his G5 and began to summon his men. And this time there would be no mistakes. He would tighten his net and have them both. 15 Conference Room 4. In Conference Room 4 in the United States Defense Control Command there were tense faces. Major Jack Bruce was there, and Sam Webster. The meeting was chaired by General Herbert Locke. General Locke began. "I am sorry to call you two out of your beds at this goddamn time in the morning, but it's 10:30 British time and people have been up and doing for some time over there." Locke was a grim-faced man at the best of times, a veteran of many conflicts. He was overall commander-in-chief of the Cheyenne facility and Bruce reported directly to him. Locke was now even more grim-faced than usual as he held up Bruce's report on the recent satellite behavioral anomalies. "Give this to me in words of one syllable that a backwoods bumpkin like myself can understand." Major Bruce smiled faintly. Locke liked to assume the backwoods bumpkin persona, but Bruce knew damn well that Locke had graduated top of his class at West Point, had lectured at several military academies in the States and abroad, and possessed 2 non-honorary degrees, one in physics, the other in languages. No, this was no raccoon-hatted yokel. And Locke continued, "We re-linking up with Sterling. They need to hear this. General Miller, good morning." The viewscreen came on right on cue. "Morning. Herb. Good to see you again. I am routing this to some others as well, if you don't mind. Lucas here is an experienced analyst, as well as my aide, and I thought it essential to keep the general officer commanding Scotland in the loop. You know Andrew Talbot, of course, how are you Andrew?" The screen divided into different sections so that the faces of all concerned could be seen. "Now, what's this about?" "Herb," asked Miller, "I am going to turn this over to Major Jack Bruce. Aaron. He has produced a report on the recent Nordic IV business. I think you ought to hear it from him. Major. The floor is yours, gentlemen," Bruce began, in his apparently confident unflappable style, but in fact he was more than a little apprehensive about reporting to this assembly of big names and ranks. 3 times in the last 15 days, our control of the Nordic IV satellite has been compromised. The first time its attitude was altered a fraction of a degree so that, if the weapon were to fire, it would strike several miles to the west of the original target. In other words, said Locke, it was no longer targeted on the Soros ship. "That's right, sir. We ran systems checks, and everything came up 5 by 5. There was no signal received by the satellite that could have ousted our control and established another control. We verified that with all civilian and military radio frequency monitoring stations. No radio signal of any kind was sent to the satellite, so what caused it to move?" Asked Miller. "We don't know, sir. But the other 2 anomalies were, as you know, more serious, for on those occasions the weapon was actually fired. At first we thought human error. Then we checked the system for glitches. Everything checked out fine, sir. It was like the satellite suddenly developed a mind of its own, but we all know that cannot happen." Said Locke, "There is no way the comparatively simple systems in the satellite can become independent. It's not a thinking machine, it does as we tell it, so we began to look for another kind of interference." "What do you mean?" "Some physical presence up there." Asked Miller. "We even checked for that, too, sir." "How?" asked Miller. "We trained Hubble on the Nordic IV. The imaging was as clear as your holiday snaps, sir. There was nothing unusual. But then we scanned for radiation traces. We were doing that yesterday, sir, when the last anomaly occurred, and what did you find?" Asked Locke. "Some sort of electromagnetic beam was directed at the satellite." Silence fell heavily in Conference Room 4. All were thinking the same thing. Not a radio wave, an electromagnetic beam, we do not have the technology for that. It was General Talbot who asked the next question. "And what was the source of this beam?" Bruce opened his hands in a gesture that echoed his words. "We don't know, sir. We think it came roughly from the Arctic region, but we can't be sure. If it happens again, we may be able to find out more. Locke then phrased the question in everyone's minds. Could this have come from the Soros? No one on Earth has the technology to create such beam, yet. To my mind there can be no other explanation. Miller now looked uncomfortable. Gentlemen, he said. Yesterday I had an interview with their number one. During that interview he suggested that terrorists were responsible for the explosions. He even produced pictures of 2 suspects. Their faces should be appearing on your view screens now. The same images that had been seen by the policemen on the train were now transmitted across the Atlantic, as well notes on the biographical information analysts had managed to collate so far. The police are looking for them as we speak. But from what I have heard now, there seems to be only one conclusion: the Soros have been lying to us, but what the hell are they up to? Asked Locke. It just doesn't make any sense for the Soros to be trying to kill this doctor and her son. There may be some connection with the organization called the Human Freedom League, said Miller. Our criminal intelligence people have been looking into them for some time, so have MI5. They are a highly organized group, and their resources are simply not known to us. They have rallies from time to time and they indulge in a lot of talk, and they've made various threats about ridding the planet of what they see as the alien menace, but they've also been implicated in some raids on high-level security bases where some weapons and explosives have gone missing. And what is more, we have a report from MI5 that the League is suspected of, how shall I say this? Obtaining some weapons-grade uranium from the old decommissioned Sellafield nuclear plant in Cumbria, so these guys are more than just grumbling fanatics. Said Locke. As I said. Replied Miller, they are highly organized, with unknown resources. Their leaders have skillfully eluded our efforts to identify them, and they operate a clever cell network very difficult to penetrate, since so much of their communication is over the supernet. Could they have gained control of Nordic IV on those occasions? Asked Talbot. I don't think that's likely, but we cannot rule it out. If Locke had been grim-faced at the start of the conference, he was even more so now. At last he said, "This does not look like a heartwarming situation, gentlemen. What do we propose to do now?" It was General Talbot who defined the only courses of action open, and concluded. If you continue to monitor the situation, gentlemen, I can promise you we will make it our top priority to trace those 2 people and find out why somebody, and I would emphasize we do not yet know who, appears to want them dead. 16 out of the frying pan. The massive slope of Ben Durain reared up dauntingly steep on their left as Jeanette and Mark made what speed they could down to the body of the man who had tried to kill them a few moments before. The slope was covered in awkward tussocks that made going difficult, but after a couple of minutes they had descended to where the body lay. There was no doubt he was dead. Mark turned away, feeling sick again. Jeanette calmly knelt beside the body and examined briefly. Broken neck. She muttered. She felt inside the man's jacket for some identification. No identification. She said. But this is Birdwatcher Man. I saw him board the train back at the station. Mark forced himself to look at the man's face. His first sight of a dead human being. He could not help but feel a profound sense of waste and the pity of it all. It does not have to be this way. He turned away. A phone, oh, it's broken. Dark glasses. Said Jeanette, a member of the Human Freedom League, perhaps. Why would that lot be after us? The train stopped. Said Mark, people will be coming. There might be more like him. Oh. God. What the hell do we do now? Mark moved back up the slope a little way and bent down, picking something up. When he turned round, Jeanette saw her son was holding the odd-looking gun. We run away, he said. And we might as well take this with us. He pointed up the small glen that angled northeast away from the bridge and the road. There was a clearly defined Land Rover track. That way, Jeanette sighed. She looked at her shoes, her skirt, her thin clothing. Shit, she said. Our bags are still on the train. My phone. My purse. Come on, Mum. Said Mark, heading down the slope. Muttering curses to fend off despair, she followed her son. A fairly wide river had to be crossed before they reached the track, and although it was shallow and fordable, their feet got wet. Progress was slow, for they were not equipped for this, and Jeanette's shoes offered very little protection from sharp stones or support for ankles. But they managed to keep going at a jog-trot pace for a kilometer or so, and then they were out of sight of the people from the train who by now had ventured out onto the track. The sides of the glen loomed to the right and left of them as they ventured further along the track. Sheep viewed their passage with a range of reactions from panic to indifferent detachment. After 20 minutes the track crossed the river by a small plantation of Sitka spruce and Jeanette called a halt. "Need water," she said, and cupped her hands to drink from the river. "Not as fit as once was." She slurped the water noisily. "Is that safe?" asked Mark. "Don't care," replied Jeanette. "We don't have any choice." Mark drank too. "You know, Marky, your dad used to do all this sort of thing, walking, trekking. I made a few trips with him but was never really what you might call an enthusiast. I picked up a few things, though. The first one was that people die in the wild, especially if they don't have the right gear. Clothes get wet, body heat is lost, and next thing you know you're in big trouble. And the second thing was how easy it is to get lost. Something strange happens to people who are not too used to being out in the open. They get bewildered. It's what the word bewildered actually means: confused by the wild. Open space confuses the inexperienced. I am confused now. I don't know how far we've come. I don't know where this valley leads. I am frightened, and soon we'll both be hungry." Mark put a comforting arm around Jeanette as she sank down to sit on a boulder. "It's all right, Mum." Jeanette could not stop the tears. Quietly at first she began to cry, and then huge sobs convulsed her. The events and emotions of the last 24 hours were finally taking their toll. She gave in to despair. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Logan rendezvoused with 2 of his men at the garage in Tindrum and from there drove them to the wide track that led down to Och Farm. Just a kilometer from the horseshoe curve. From this position he could see the train, still unmoving on the track above Och Glen. They stood by the bonnet of Logan's Jeep, studying an ordnance survey map of the area. "We here." Logan's finger jabbed the area indicating the farm. "The train's there on that curve, see." The 2 men, Henderson and Johns, looked from map to landscape and back to map. They saw. The woman and the boy jumped from the train here. Another jab of the finger. "And Cameron went with them. I think Cameron's injured or dead. I want you to find Cameron. If he's injured, one of you get him out of there. If he's dead, get any identification and get his gun. We don't want the police finding our weapons." "Understood, Logan," replied Henderson, the taller of the 2 men. "However it goes with Cameron. I also want at least one of you to go up this valley here, Och Glen. I think they're on the run now, and they've headed up that way. There's no place else for them to go unless they head up the hillsides, and I don't think they'll try that. The slopes are too steep. Now, this track leads round to Loch Leon. From there they can make their way to Killen. It'll take them a day, but they might make it. I don't want them to make it. They've got a half-hour start. You should be able to catch them no problem. The orders now are to find them and kill them, simple as that. They're an important link in the plans for alien invasion and they've got to be eliminated." "Understood." Both men nodded eagerly. This was what they had joined the League for in the first place. "Right, get to it. I'll drive round to the other side of Loch Leon and pick you up from there. That's your exit point. Don't come back this way, for this place will be teeming with police shortly. I am pretty sure. Here, take the map. Get going." He watched as his men picked up their small, light rucksacks. These guys knew the area. They would not let him down. They would not let the League down. Asterisk 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 asterisk. At 11:30, in the Criminal Intelligence Service headquarters based in the quiet countryside outside Erskine on the southwest fringes of Glasgow, in the office of one of the 3 directors of the SIS, the interface on Chief Inspector Chris Roberts' desk began to display information that aroused his interest. One section of the split screen was constantly updated with data from sources all over the UK. Reports originating from the Central Scotland section had been centering on apparently gas main-related explosions, and one of Roberts' briefs was the investigation of terrorist activity. 2 people, a mother and her son, were being sought in connection with the incidents. More data from the same source was streaming in. Roberts was more than usually tired this morning, evidenced by the dark half-circles under his eyes. Little Sally, his 6-month-old baby daughter, had been up half the night with a sickness bug. His wife Jacqueline's stamina had lasted until 3 this morning. At which point Roberts had taken over. Fortunately the baby's temperature had subsided and visit to the hospital, at the back of his mind as an option, was rendered unnecessary. But a night like that was enough to take the edge off performance at his kind of work. He half wondered if the sickness bug hadn't been transferred to him, he felt so lousy. But now, as Roberts looked at his terminal view screen and read the latest reports, thoughts of fatigue and illness began to recede. However, apart from 2 mysterious explosions, the interface screen now revealed that a policeman had been murdered on a train from Fort William on the West Highland Line. The killer, not yet identified, had jumped from the train and been killed himself. It appeared that the killer had been chasing the same 2 people whose names and faces had cropped up in the explosion reports. Dr. Jeanette Daniels and her son, Mark. Chris Roberts never forgot a name. And when metaphorical alarm bells began to sound in his mind, it only took him a moment's thought to recapture the circumstances of his first acquaintance with the name of Jeanette Daniels. Roberts had once arrested her husband on suspicion of terrorist involvement. At the time, after investigation, it had turned out that the husband, John, had been no more than a bit of a cranky fool involved in student hot-headedness. Charges had been dropped, eventually. Roberts recalled hearing that a missing person report had been filed for him shortly after that, and he finally turned up claiming some alien abduction nonsense. Strange, though, that the name should crop up again now. As one of the directors of the Criminal Intelligence Section, Roberts could mobilize considerable resources. He lost no time in doing so now. Within 15 minutes a helicopter was ready and waiting for him on the large flat roof of the headquarters building. Before boarding, he placed a high-security call to General Aaron Miller, the museum military commanding officer at Sterling, who seemed to be in flap about this Daniels family's activities. After a brief conversation, beneficial to both parties, Roberts was seated in the helicopter climbing high over Renfrewshire and turning in a wide sweep to head north over the local Patrick Hills as rapidly as possible. 16 closing in, Logan is putting the pedal to the metal. He is hammering back down the road to Tyndrum before he races towards Killen. Other members of the League continue to stand by or are on their way to Loch Leon already. He has been busy with the G5, mounted now on the dashboard. Its viewscreen lights up as he takes a sharp bend a little too quickly. But the 4-wheel drive holds the road and he relents a little. He recognizes the sight instantly. It is the chairman. He listens as the voice tells him of his new instructions. These sound difficult to accomplish, he thinks, but the chairman has read his thought. It seems, for everything necessary is at hand. *********************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************************** 10 minutes have now elapsed since the two members of the League, Henderson and Johns, set off in pursuit of their targets. They are dressed for the occasion, wearing lightweight trousers and synthetic T-shirts. Their small rucksacks bob without trouble on their backs, and the tough trainers on their feet are ideal for this kind of rough track jogging. They do not speak much. They have little to say. They had not met until today. The only things that unite them are an unthinking hatred of all things alien, and a complete willingness to do whatever the chairman, or his representative, tells them. Train passengers peer through the windows and point at the two running figures as they move towards the bridge of the horseshoe curve. Some speculate that they might be policemen. They are seen to check the other's lifeless body before moving on, obviously in pursuit of the other two. There is no ID on Cameron, as Jeanette had already discovered, but they are concerned that they cannot find the gun. They spend some minutes scouring the sloping, tussocky ground for it, but without success. They reach the same conclusion, that it has been picked up by their targets, and resume their jogging pursuit. They notice the broken mobile phone but fail to pay it any more than a cursory glance. Once out of sight of the gawping passengers, they take out their own guns. It is as well to be prepared. It is no good jogging into an ambush. Asterisk 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 asterisk. Jeanette tripped on another of the infernal tussocks and went sprawling in the damp grass. Anger etched a terrible scowl on her smeared face. The track had come to an abrupt stop a few minutes ago, and they were carrying on over pathless grass. About 400 meters in front lay the narrow expanse of Loch Leone, but they could only see a confined section of it for the moment, as they descended by uneven ground from the watershed. "Up you get, Mum," said Mark, jogging back to help her. "Never say die, I'll tell you what you can do with your clichés, young man," replied Jeanette, getting up and feebly going through the motions of dusting herself down. "I shouldn't bother doing that, Mum, you just spreading the dirt around more evenly," remarked Mark. Shut up, shut up, shut up. "How far do you think we've come?" asked Jeanette. "About a couple of miles. Maybe 3 from that wood. Any feelings? Any insights? Any bloody ideas where we're going, away from here, Mum, if you don't mind? What is it? I am pretty sure we're being followed. Let us head for the loch and see what happens." "Oh God," muttered Jeanette as they set off again. "This skirt, these blasted shoes, these goddamned mountains, asterisk 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 asterisk." The jeep skidded to a halt in the little farmyard some kilometers south of the small attractive town of Killen. The farm's owner had been waiting for him. Logan got out of the jeep as the burly man approached. "I am McGregor," he said and held out a thick hand for Logan to shake. It engulfed Logan's. "ULLB Logan. I take it." McGregor, a large-faced, loose-limbed man, looked like he'd spent most of his 40-odd years out of doors. He regarded the younger newcomer warily as he released the handshake. "That's right," replied Logan, returning the appraising look. "Good. I've received the instructions and everything's taken care of." "Well, follow me, then." Logan followed the man round the farm buildings to a large open field. In the field sat a helicopter. "I bought it a couple of years ago. It was the chairman's idea." "Yes, the chairman himself. It's come in pretty handy, too. I hire it out to the tourists at this time of year for trips round Ben Lowers and round and about, you know. And in the winter it comes in handy for the mountain rescue from time to time." As they moved in its direction, McGregor surveyed the chopper with obvious pride. He must be a shrewd one, the chairman." Yes," replied Logan. The curtness of his tone, and the slightly prolonged eye contact before turning coolly away was a clear signal to McGregor that here was his superior in the league, and loose chat about the nature of the chairman would not be taking place. "Right then," said McGregor after a momentary hesitation. "Let us get you kitted up and belted in and off we go, eh?" "The stuff the chairman asked for is already stashed in the back seat." Logan noticed the small red first aid kit, with Mountain Leader emblazoned on it. "The stuff's in there?" he asked, and McGregor nodded. A few minutes later the rotor blades were in furious motion and the Logan saw the ground fall away rapidly beneath him. Asterisk 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 asterisk. A few hundred meters from the sprawling buildings of Och Farm, Robert's Sis helicopter was powering down in a stretch of flatter land below the track as he boarded the motionless train. Impatient mutters of "at last," and "maybe they'll finally get us on our way," reached his ears as he sought out the officer in charge of the crime scene. He was shown into the carriage where the shooting had taken place. Striped tape cordoned the carriage off. A uniformed policeman was sitting at one of the tables for 4, making notes in a small, old-fashioned notebook. Above him, Roberts noticed a hole had been torn in the roof, the jagged edges punched outwards. At the far end of the carriage, a cloth shapelessly covered the body of the murdered officer. The policeman, aware of Robert's presence, stood up. He looked glad and relieved to see someone of superior rank. He introduced himself as Sergeant Todd Campbell. "Roberts." "Sis," said Roberts, sitting opposite Campbell and offering his ID for checking. Campbell waved it away. "I knew you were coming, and you don't need to be Sherlock Holmes to guess the helicopter with Sis on the side hardly ushers in Coco the Clown." The words could have sounded sarcastic, but Campbell's face indicated otherwise. The sergeant was nervous. "What have you got so far, Sergeant?" asked Roberts. Campbell took him through what witnesses had described and what the visual evidence reinforced. "The killer came in that door. He fired one shot at the couple, the boy and his mother, who were sitting here." He indicated the seat with the destroyed headrest, "but he was then grabbed from behind by McPherson. He's the dead man. There was a struggle, the killer got another shot off, the one through the roof, and then managed to round on McPherson and shot him at point-blank range in the chest. The bullet fragments exited the body and are embedded, some of them, in the plastic doorframe. It's made some mess of the poor guy. Did you know him? Yes. I did, slightly. Anyway, I've left them there for the forensic team. They should be here within the hour. They coming from Glasgow too, but they not so quick off the mark as you, sir, no. Any shell casings? Asked Roberts. I have them here in the plastic bag. And I've marked on the floor where I found them. Campbell passed the bag over. I can say I recognize them.